While every poker player spends their summer chasing bracelets inside of Vegas, I flew to the other side of the world to grind the PokerStars Series in Manila, building my roll back up and winning my first ever live trophy. This is how it went.
Okay, we're not off to a great start. We just unregistered the first event, the 25k no limit hold'em. They postponed it twice, but still didn't run. So hopefully that's not an omen for the rest of the series. The next event I'd want to play is only at 5. So I'm gonna jump in the 3,500 pesos, which is much more than I want to be playing, but I'd rather be playing that than just sitting around doing nothing.
After a quick shuffle up, I get dealt my very first hand of the series. Somehow I look down at pocket kings. I raise, I get a caller, I c-bet the flop on 4-3-2, he raises us to 15k, we stick it all in, he beats us in the pot with ace-9 and we're off to a run out. Turn, 3, river, another 3. A full double up in our very first hand.
Okay, we are on a 10-minute break in this 3,500. Unfortunately, the 25k did fire and there's 3 more entries. So if I bust the 3,500, I'll still be able to jump in with more than 100 big blinds. But let's also make sure we're not absolutely punting off in 3,500 to get in.
As we approach the bubble in our first event, we find a beautiful spot. There's an open in middle position. There's 4 callers. When it gets to us in the big blind with ace-10, we have a great jamming spot for 15 big blinds. The original opener ends up calling with pocket 3s, and we go heads up to a run out of 4-9-6, 6 turn, and a 5 river.
We are at the 3,500, which is fine. Smallest event I'll play for sure. We're gonna grab a bite to eat, and then we're gonna jump in the 8k run it twice turbo.
Our second event of the series is our run it twice turbo. Starting with 25k, 3 see-through chips, and 3 time banks. You could use a see-through chip whenever you were all in a heads-up pot. We quickly found ourselves in a run it twice situation when our opponent went all in on the turn, drawing to a chop. My queen jack versus his jack 7 on ace 10 9 8. Let's see 2 rivers dealer. We hold the first and we hold the second. A full double up very early on.
Okay, so we have made the final table of 9. However, there's only 4 people paid, and admittedly it's one of the smallest live fields I've ever played, but that's run good. I think we're first or second in chips. There's 65k pesos up top and a trophy, so I might have just found my ticket to trophies.
Picture for a final table where half the people won't even make the money, and after one crazy orbit where there was an all-in every single hand, we find ourselves on the bubble. There's 3 short stacks including us and 2 mid stacks. The cutoff raises, the button flats, and we find ourselves in the big blind with pocket 7s. No other option than to go all in against the 2 big stacks. The cutoff folds and the button finds a call. I quickly use a run it twice chip just in case, and we're off to see 2 runouts against ace-10 of hearts. The first runout, jack 6-3, 4 queen. Boy oh boy does it feel nice to win the first. Let's hold the second dealer. A good start, 9-2-4, however there's 2 hearts. Keep it clean dealer. Turn, a heart, we're dead. Chop chop. The next hand, one of the other shorties gets it in versus the big stack. Runs it twice, but cannot find help on either. We're in the money! Action doesn't stop there. We now need to collect every chip to win that trophy. We go all in a small line versus the big blind with ace-queen, and we say, let's run up once. Our opponent, however, uses one of his chips and calls with ace-9. The first run out, 8-8-3, 5-4. That's clean. The second run out, 7-8 king, 5-2. We win both. Let's go. We now have the chip lead on the final table. As I'm taking a video of my new chip lead stack, the other 2 stacks get it in on the flop, one with a flush draw and the other with second pair. However, the flush draw gets there twice. We're now heads up. Our very first hand of heads up, we look down at pocket aces. Let's get this over with in one hand. He raises small, we 3-bet small because we're 20 big blinds effective. We 3-bet to 5 big blinds. Unfortunately, he folds. After playing for about 5 more minutes, we find another pocket pair. We find pocket 6s for 15 big blinds effective. We go all in, he snap calls. Unfortunately, we're up against pocket 8s. Let's find a 6 on one of these 2 runouts dealer. The first runout comes deuce, 9, 9, 5, 4. No 6 there. Let's find one on the second runout. Ace diamonds, king of hearts, 5 diamonds, 4 of hearts, 5 diamonds. And
I have just finished second in the 8k run it twice event. We ran 6s into 8s and couldn't get their heads up. It's pretty standard cooler. It was very shallow, so like I knew it was going to come down to a flip, but that's okay. It's a good start to the series. Not for that much money, it was a tiny field, but it's a confidence booster and I'm looking forward to the rest of the series. Okay, after yesterday, we're definitely off to a great start. So let's try and keep that going. Today on the menu, there is 2 interesting tournaments, I think maybe 3. And the buy-ins are definitely getting bigger. We're starting with a 25k freeze out. It starts at 3 o'clock. So it's now 12 o'clock. So we're just making sure our routine stays in place. We're getting some steps in. We're gonna do a workout, then some study. Yesterday I got second. Let's get a trophy today. Okay, I have just arrived for the day. It's the second day. Today we're starting off with the 25k threes out. It starts at 3 o'clock. It's 10 to 3 now.
Okay, we jump in from the very start, and what a choice it was. We had a crazy table. In one of the early hands, we look down at pocket fives on the bottom. We raise the small blind who've been playing every hand, calls, and we see a flop of 6-5-2 with 2 clubs. He checks, we bet 1,000, he calls. Turn brings in 8 of clubs, so it completes the flush draw, but since he's been playing so many hands, we're not afraid and looking to get at all. We bet 3,000, sizing up the river jam. He again snap calls, and we see offsuit 10 on the river. He quickly checks it over to us. We go in for his remaining 8,000, but sadly he folds. After sadly going super card dead, we finally look down at ace king. We raise it up to 1,200 at big blind 500s. We get one caller. The button now makes it 7,000 of a 20,000 stack as well. We go on, he calls with jacks. Let's see a run out. The flop, ace, king, 6. He taps the table, and then it's a miracle jack on the turn. The river, an offsuit 10.
Okay, 25k, no good. Ace, king, jacks, just a flip. But no time to waste. We're gonna jump into the next tournament.
The next event is a 2-day 5k turbo with a big prize pool of over $1 million. After playing for about 2 hours, getting dinner delivered right to my seat, for a whopping $6, we get a lovely homemade lasagna whilst grinding our stack. After finishing our dinner, we find a good spot to jam our 13 big blinds, and we jam ace 9, big blind calls with pocket 4s. Around 30 away from the money in day 2. The flop, ace 9, 7, we flop top 2. However, there's 2 hearts. The turn, 10 of hearts, river, 2 hearts. Our opponent wins with a flush. Absolute showers for day 2. The weather on our way back perfectly reflects how the day went. For day 3, I forgot to do an intro. When I arrived, the tournament room was absolutely brimming with people. We were in the zone and ready to play some cards. The first event, the 10k super stack. After grinding for the first 4 levels, making some very disciplined folds and some good hero calls, I found myself with a 100k stack. We were at a late reg, there's 91 players left, 35 made the money, with 324,000 for first. I found myself getting it all in with kings against ace queen, pre-flop for about 200k, but unfortunately he hit an ace. But there's no time to sulk, time to jump into the next event and keep grinding. The next event was a 20k KO. For every person you knocked out, you get 5k. After a failed bounty hunt 3 ways, with queen jack suited against jack 10 and 9-8, we find ourselves in a small blind with ace 8 going all in for 18 big blinds, as we had half a starting stack and we expected the big blind to call with any 2 cards. Unfortunately, this time these 2 cards were ace 9. Flop of 10, 9, 5 leaves us strong to run a runner. The turn gives us hope, the 9 diamonds. One more diamond please dealer, the river, and offsuit 3.
Okay, I just busted the 20k KO just as we go out late reg. It's a very standard spot. Ace 8 into ace 9, small blind against big blind. Nothing to do. That's kind of the thing with live poker. Because you play so few events, you have to take every spot you get and you're just gonna run into a bunch. So we're taking a quick break to eat some food and then we're firing again. And next is a turbo 6.5k. Let's stay focused. Let's make sure we're playing well and getting the volume we need for a good score and a trophy.
Turbo 6.5. With shot clock 20 seconds, the action was fast paced, and we found ourselves bluffing off with a flop straight flush, where we had the nut diamond block.
Alright, this morning I had the same problem with my laptop as I did last week. I took it back to the same guy. Somehow, I struggled for 2 hours in the morning trying to start it. When I got there, he was able to start it directly. But it basically means I'm gonna need a new laptop soon. It's day 4, I think, of the series here in Manila. So we have a new goal. It's make enough, buy a new laptop, and then travel to the next place.
After dealing with my laptop, I arrived for the 10k deep stack. We were able to spin up 25k all the way up to 80,000, and after late reg, we found ourselves in an all-in spot of kings against queens. Once more, our opponent finds a queen, sending us back down to starting stack. 3 hands later, we find a great spot in the big blind with 9s, versus a button open, we go all in, he calls, and we run into aces. We flop a gut shot, but cannot improve. Feeling a bit rough, I decided to not wait for 3 hours for the next event and head home to make sure I recover and can play well the rest of the series.
Alright, yesterday I only played one tournament at the Okada. I was feeling a bit under the weather, so I skipped on the 20k. However, today I'm feeling much better. I'm gonna fire everything. It's just before 1, so we'll fire the 10k, the 20k 6-handed, and then whatever is on in the evening. Poker, especially tournaments, are a game of attrition. If you don't feel that good, it's much better to skip a tournament than to try and force yourself on play. The series is 10 days long. Skipping 1 or 2 tournaments isn't the end of the world as long as you make the best decisions. Alright, I'm in. 10k Survivor Knockout, 20k Bounty, quite an interesting format. I'll explain more as we sit down.
Here's how it works. You play it like a normal tournament, but when it gets down to the final 20% of players, every single person gets a 20,000 pesos bounty on their head. The rest of the prize money still goes into the prize pool, so you can still score big without knocking people out. With the series not going that well, you have to make sure you find wins outside of the cards you can't control. You're at a table with 8 other interesting people. Talk to them. As I say that, first bullet, no good. King, queen, tens, into the second bullet we go. You can focus while you're in a hand, but don't forget, poker's a social game. For example, in this tournament, I met a surgeon who studied in the UK but is based in Singapore. Poker is an awesome game for bringing people together. On that note, much better start to the second bullet. First hand, we get a full double up. Ace king versus ace 6 off, and a very clean run out. 2 hands later, we look down at queens, we free bet, we see a flop, ace, ace 8, we bet tiny to induce our opponent to do something crazy, and he does, he goes all in, he has pocket freeze, and another clean run out. Great start. Building a big stack before the final 20% is more important than ever in this tournament. After the break, coloring up and closing with late reg, we find ourselves 45k and get it all in on the very first hand. We're 4 ways to the flop. I have pocket 7s on ace 7 3 with 2 spades. Our opponent ace 4 diamond. He's practically drawn dead. The turn, an ace. The worst card in the deck. The river, a deadly 3, leaving us with crumbs. Back down to 10k. Now we've got a job to do. We need to spin this up before there's 20% left so we can knock out some people. First of all, 10 9 of diamonds against ace 6 spades. The flop comes down king 7 4. That's no help to us. The turn, a magical 9, and the river is clean. We find our first double up. A couple more to go. The next one comes very shortly after. We're in small blind and we have queen jack off. The flop comes jack 10-9 against undergun and big blind. Both me and the big blind check. The undergun player c-bets and we go all in. Sadly, he has queen. However, the turn, a king. We chop for sure. Another club. The person who just went runner on us now is on the other side of it. It's funny how poker works sometimes. There was an Austrian media reporter who used to work in poker media as well. Once again, awesome how poker brings people together. The job's not done, however. We need to build a big stack. We're down a pocket queens, we get free bet, we go all in, we get called, and we're up against ace queen. We're on our way to a massive stack. Flop, 7, 5, 8. Turn, king of hearts, river, queen of hearts. We now have lots of chips. But the chips are never safe. While I'm still stacking up my chips, I look down at pocket 8s. I raise to 5k, everyone folds, but the big blind goes all in. It's not a great spot for 16 big blinds, but like I said, we need to build a big stack in this tournament to be able to cover people and knock people out. We call, and sadly, we're up against pocket 10s. No help on the run out, and we're back to being super short. Just as quickly as they came, they went.
Alright, I just soft double that 10k, which really sucks. It was such an up and down, a lot of emotions, but that's the way it is. I'm going to chill for about 5 minutes, make sure I'm not tilted or anything, and then jump in the 20k 6 max. The field looks really good, so let's get our trophy there. Let's stay focused and play well.
We make our way over to the 6 max. Possibly one of my favourite formats on the schedule. You're short-handed, you get to play lots of hands against bad players. There's a shot clock which keeps the pace of play super nice, and with fast dealers, it couldn't be more enjoyable. On the second level, we find a full double up against an extremely non-believing big blind who hero calls the river on 10 deuce deuce 7 3 with ace jack when I have 7s full of deuces. We're able to keep chipping up, and as late reg closes, it's announced that 5 players are paid. The win cash is 39k, and up top the 155k and a trophy. By the time we have 8 players left, I was able to grind my stack up to 100k, winning lots of small pots, which is what this format is all about. Then I find a way to send us to the final table, with 4s against queen 10. He flops a queen, but we go runner, flush. We've seen this before, but now it goes in our favor. Once we get to the final table, someone quickly gets knocked out, and I look down at pocket aces. This might be my least favorite played hand so far of the series. I raise it up pre-flop, big blind, the big stack defends, and we see a flop of queen 5-2, all clubs. He checks it over to me, but I have quite a live read that he's ready to check raise and he's very strong. Even without the read, I think we don't want to bet too often here, as there's a lot of ICM on us, so we check. Turn, an offsuit king. He checks it over once more, and this is where I make my big mistake. I bet 18k into a pot of 23k. However, I think we should check again because we need to be so strong to be able to bet and call a raise that one pair just isn't enough, even if it's aces. Look how quickly he raises us without even looking how much he's raising to. We end up folding and he's nice enough to show us 7-4 of clubs. Not to worry, the next hand, the shorty busts. The big stacks takes an extremely light call of a7 and wins against king jack. Time for us to spin up and win this trophy. We look down at ace-8 and we're up against small blinds queens. We're gonna need a lot of help dealer. Flop queen jack 7, leaving us drawing super thin. Turn a king of spade river, not to be. This leaves us 4 in the next hand. We have jack 7, there's a board of ace 10 7. We have a pair, however, they flop top 2. We're not able to find any help and we are out.